You're running on the treadmill thinking that you're burning fat and building muscle at the same time. But what if I told you that that could be the very thing that might be slowing down your progress? A lot of people believe that cardio is the key to burning fat, or even that it could help you build muscle. But that's not exactly how this works. In fact, there are a ton of common mistakes just like this that might be stopping you from seeing real results. And you might be making some of them without even realizing it. If you feel like you're doing everything right but still not seeing results, there's a good chance that you're making at least one of these common mistakes. I've spoken about this in other videos, but I've made some of these mistakes myself, and it helped me back on my own journey by literal years. And I obviously do not want that to happen to you. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the biggest and most common muscle building and fat loss mistakes that might be holding you back, and telling you exactly what to do instead so you could finally start to see real progress. Let's start with a mistake that I see a lot on social media, and I think because of that, I also see beginners making in the gym. And that is combining two resistance exercises together, for example, like a squat and a bicep curl. On the surface, this might seem like an efficient way to work multiple muscle groups at once. But here's the major problem. You are limiting how much weight you could lift on both exercises, making both of these exercises actually less efficient. You will never be able to bicep curl as much as you can squat, and by combining these two exercises together, you're now selling yourself short with both movements. Instead, focus on doing each exercise separately. That way you could actually optimize both exercises by being able to apply more weight or do more reps, and then you'll actually be able to build more strength and muscle mass in the areas that you're trying to target. Speaking of turning strength training into something that it's not, let's talk about another really common mistake, which is trying to turn resistance training into cardio. I see this constantly in the gym, and a lot of new clients that start with me, it's like almost like a complaint that we're not going fast enough and we're taking longer breaks, but there's a reason for this. If you're going through your workout with little to no rest in between sets, barely controlling the weight, and prioritizing speed over form or the amount of load that you're lifting, then you're not going to be building as much muscle as you actually could. Resistance training is not meant to train your cardiovascular system. And if you're watching this video right now, then your main goal is probably to build muscle, look a bit more ripped or toned, and probably get a bit stronger. Cardio will provide little to no help with all of these things. Instead, just take your time with each exercise. Focus on controlled movements, use progressive overload, and rest at least 60 seconds for your isolation exercises, and about 1.5 to 3 minutes for your heavier compound lifts. That way you can actually ensure that you're giving your best effort with each set, which is going to be better for muscle growth over time. If you want to do cardio, that's fine, just do it separately from your resistance training. Okay, this is one of the biggest mistakes that I made myself for years, and that is focusing way too much on calories burned during a workout. Have you ever finished a workout and immediately checked how many calories you burned, and even self-determined how good the workout was just based on how many calories you burned? But here's the thing, building muscle is not about how many calories you burn per workout. In fact, focusing too much on the calorie burn is something that could be working against your muscle building goals. Okay, Savannah, but how is that possible? One of the ways that this could be working against you is because building muscle is not only about what you're doing in the gym, it's about what happens after. The recovery process begins after your workout ends, and that's when your body starts to repair damaged muscle fibers and starts to grow them back bigger and stronger. The whole recovery process requires energy, meaning that if you're constantly trying to burn as many calories as possible and double whammy, you're not intaking enough energy, it's possible that your body simply will not have enough energy to actually use it towards building muscle, and it's going to be used towards other processes in your body that are way more essential. And here's another problem. When your sole focus is burning calories, you're more likely to rush through exercises, cut your rest periods too short, and use lighter weights just to keep moving. But like I explained in another video of this series, muscle growth comes from progressive overload and proper intensity, not from how sweaty or out of breath you could get. Plus, tracking calories burned is super inaccurate. Most calorie trackers are going to be overestimating how many calories you're burning, sometimes by up to 50%. You could be accidentally underfeeding or overfeeding yourself, which will make it harder to build muscle or lose body fat. My best advice is that instead of worrying on how many calories you're burning per workout, shift your focus to performance-based goals. Is your technique or form getting better? Are you lifting heavier weights? Are you able to progress in some way from week to week? That is what will actually lead you to body recomposition, not some arbitrary number on your fitness tracker. This mistake comes from a good place. People think they're doing something productive and good, but really they're just focusing on the wrong thing. This reminds me of another mistake that beginners often make, which is doing really lengthy workouts. A lot of people think that having a longer workout is going to equal better results, but that's just not the case. If your training sessions are lasting 2 to 3 hours, the chances are that you're doing either too much volume, you're not training with enough intensity, or maybe you're just wasting time. An effective workout really only needs to take 45 to 75 minutes. Stick to a structured plan, focus on progressive overload, and leave when your work is done. When it comes to building muscle, more is not always better, especially if you're not recovering properly. By the way, if you need some help figuring out how to structure your muscle building workout, I already made a detailed video about this topic for you, and I explained progressive overload and how you can implement it so that you could keep making progress and see results. I'll put the link to that video in the description if you want to check it out. So if you're training for hours on end, pushing yourself in the gym every single day, and you're still not seeing progress, it is most likely not because you need more training, but it's probably that you need better recovery. Like I alluded to earlier, muscle isn't built while you're lifting, it's built after your lift when your body starts to repair and grow stronger. But if you're constantly hammering your body with more volume, skipping rest days, or not getting enough sleep, then you're not giving your muscles the best chance that they have to grow. Over time, this can actually stall your progress tremendously. When recovery is lacking, your performance in the gym starts to decline, your energy levels can start to tank, and in the worst case scenario, you increase your risk for injury, which is going to set you back even further. If you want to build muscle and lose fat efficiently, recovery has to be just as much of a priority as your training is. That could look like taking at least 1 to 2 rest days per week, and this is a big one, trying to get 7 to 9 hours of restful sleep per night. There are more and more studies coming out that inadequate sleep could reduce your strength, your endurance, and disrupt the normal function of certain hormones. I know this is one that you might be tired of hearing as well, but it is important to try to manage stress and reduce burnout. High levels of stress and under recovery can increase cortisol in the body, which might make building muscle and losing body fat more difficult. At the end of the day, training is just one piece of the puzzle. If you're putting in the work but not seeing results, it might not be about what you're doing, it might be about what you're not doing, which is something that I see happen a lot when someone tries to change too many variables at once. Trying to change too much too soon is actually one of the reasons that our next biggest mistakes happen, which is setting expectations too high and then burning out. You go all in for a few weeks. You go to the gym 6 days per week, you track every bite of food, but then suddenly life happens and now you fall off track completely. Okay, all of my perfectionists out there, just stick with me. What about, instead of aiming for perfection, we aim for sustainability? 3 to 4 solid workouts per week, done consistently over the span of a few months, will always beat out the perfect plan that you quit after only a few weeks. And while consistency matters, so do some aspects of how you train, which brings me to my next biggest mistake, which is sacrificing form to lift heavier weights. Lifting more weight over time is kind of the goal, or it's at least one of the ways that we can apply progressive overload to an exercise. But if you're lifting more weight than you can handle with good technique, you're reducing your ability to engage the muscles that you're actually trying to target, and the chances that you're overcompensating with muscles that you're not trying to target become higher. You're also going to be increasing your risk of injury, which is probably the biggest setback that you're going to encounter on your fitness journey. Adding weight to an exercise is a way to increase tension on the muscle, but if you're not able to do that exercise anymore with proper form, then you're not going to be able to get the full benefit of it. My advice with this is super simple. Make sure that you master your form first and then gradually add weight as that becomes more manageable. But of course, you could have the perfect form, but if your nutrition is not on point and you do have goals of building muscle or losing body fat, you're probably still gonna struggle. The 2 most common questions I get are, what are the best supplements to build muscle or lose body fat? The truth is that supplements are really just that. They're a supplement, and they won't be able to make up for inconsistent nutrition habits. Instead of obsessing over whatever supplement is popular on the internet right now, first make sure that you're actually creating a healthy and sustainable diet for yourself that's made up of mostly minimally processed foods. For overall health, it's generally better to try to get your nutrients from real whole foods rather than supplements. Whole foods provide a mix of vitamins, minerals, and other beneficial nutrients like fiber that things like supplements just can't really replace. Plus, real food tastes better than supplements, it's much more filling, and it's often less expensive. I do believe that it's best to talk to your doctor first or consult a professional and get blood work done to confirm that there is actually a deficiency there before you overconsume certain vitamins or minerals that can have negative side effects on your health. And lastly, let's talk about the biggest mistake that I see beginners make all of the time, and that is just simply giving up too soon. One of the biggest reasons that people quit prematurely is because they don't see results quick enough. They believe that what they're doing is not working, but really they just need to have more patience and they need to give themselves more time. If you're training properly, eating right, and staying consistent, just try to trust the process. Real results are going going to take months, not weeks, and especially not days. If you're serious about building muscle and losing fat, avoiding these mistakes is key. But knowing what to do is only half the battle. Having a solid plan is what makes all the difference. That's why I put together a free 6-week hypertrophy program that takes all of the guesswork out of training. Plus, I included a flexible dieting guide that walks you through exactly how to set up your nutrition for real results. You can grab both of those for free. Just check the link in the description below. Everything that we've covered in this series is designed to help you skip the mistakes that set so many people back on their journey, myself included. If you've been feeling stuck, confused, or like you're doing everything right but you're just not seeing results yet, then this roadmap was made for you. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.